So my name is Tabata. I am the product marketing specialist here at Qualifio. And today I am joined by Olivier Lamotte, our head of products, to present what is new at Qualifio. I think so the last product update webinar was in January, right? And since we last saw you, I think a lot of things have happened. So yeah, of course, like seasons changed. I think all of us got our work from home setups a bit upgraded. Probably a lot of New Year's resolutions were broken, but most importantly, we're here to bring a recap of what we did at Qualifio since that time. So first things first, if you have trouble hearing us, please say so in the chat. I see that one of you has their hand raised. So Irene, maybe if you have a question, you can maybe use the Q&A box below like your panel. And if not, then I will just pretend you lower your hand, but really don't hesitate to type something. Also, if you miss anything during the webinar, don't worry, because we'll be sending the recording and the slides around when they're available. And like Olivier said, we'd also love to hear from you during today's session. So if you have a question, feel free. We have some time reserved for Q&As at the end of the presentation. And also we'll be launching a couple of more polls during the webinar, just to get on your opinion on a few things. And yeah, so without further ado, here's the webinar for today's agenda. We're going to share how you can use some new features like the new webhook, the push rules, the third-party games, some new integrations too, and then a couple of improvements and extra polish we did on the platform. And of course, we'll also be looking at some upcoming features as well. So first part, let's look at some new features of Qualifio. So first, our new webhook is here. So we already had a Qualifio webhook, but we have rebuilt it from the ground up. And just to make it easier really to send your leads from Qualifio to external tools or apps, we know that each of the organizations that are using Qualifio, they just use the data they collect in pretty unique ways, each of them. But one thing they have in common is that they all want to turn this data into something useful. And so one of our biggest aims at Qualifio is to make it super easy to get the data you collect out of the platform and out of your account, actually. And to do that, one of the most popular integrations that we have is the Webhook, which gives you the ability to receive real-time notifications, so in the form of a JSON payload for new participations to a URL of your choosing. So in other words, webhooks are really the easiest way you have of getting a notification when a participation occurs in one of your campaigns. And that notification is sent to a URL you specify, which is called the webhook endpoint. And we just basically send you a message with the content and the data that is related to the participation. That's what we call the webhook payload. And essentially, you can just receive the notification. And once you verify the message, you can see what's inside and use the data however you want. And that really opens up a whole new ways to integrate campaign data into the tools that you use across your organization. So you can keep profile data in sync with your CRM, you can send more personalized messages to your audience, or you can just gather statistics into maybe a personalized dashboard, into whatever internal app you might be using. With the release of this new webhook, we have launched major improvements to make them more powerful, more easier to manage. And what is new is that the payload, so the content of that notification, is actually now richer. So in addition to things like the participant name and email or like birth dates, So the fields that you collect within the form of your campaign, you can now see their answers, maybe their score, their prize they may have won, and other useful information that you can use however you wish. We also added a brand new option that allows you to include a authentication header. So Qualifio admin users are able to add this sort of extra layer of security to the request that the webhook is sending. It kind of works the same way as an extra password, so that you can verify that all of these requests are actually coming from Qualifio. And with these changes, we are also giving you the opportunity to configure push rules. So this is a new interface that we have released a couple of weeks ago to most users. And it allows you to really more effectively manage all of the push integrations. And so the data pushing of your data in Qualifio. You can define different rules based on your needs. So it could be at the account level, it could be at the website level, master form for specific campaigns also, but it's really centralized into the single screen. The fact that you can now set up all of these rules upfront, it also means like one less manual task for your team, which obviously is always a win. And finally, you can also like eliminate the risk associated with just forgetting to enable a push in a form or in a campaign. So let's say, for example, that you want to get Qualifio webhook events to your internal system, but you only want to get those for, you know, like a very specific website, like a specific brand or the campaigns of your choice. You can now do that. And this changes quite a lot of things on how you enable data pushes in Qualifio. So basically before, you had to go through each master form or each campaign to enable those integrations. And now admin and marketer users can manage all of these in one interface. So that's what it looks like if you're an admin or a marketer user. And editor users, what they can do is that they can preview which pushes are active in a campaign. So that's what they can see in their campaign. If they go to the settings tab, then they have this brand new data push section where they can see, okay, here in my campaign, I know that the webhook has been enabled. And then here, in this case, my data is going to be pushed to MailChimp. If you're an admin or marketing user, you can obviously see the same. The only thing that changes if you check the picture that I'm sharing is that you have the ability to change this setting by using the new interface. So essentially, editor users only have like a kind of read-only access to this information. Another thing that has changed is that you used to use forms to set up both data pushes, but also single sign-on integrations. So essentially integrations that allow people to log in to your campaigns with an existing account, for example. Now, forms no longer show any push integration. They're only used for single sign-on. So in a form, in a campaign, or if you like add a master form to your campaign, that's essentially the same. You will see that below the form fields, you have like a section that is now dedicated to only single sign-on. And finally, we used to consider within the Qualifio structure, if you like, that push integrations were essentially bound to forms, and participation data was sent upon form submission. And that's why it was not really possible to send like any data that was outside of the form. And now push integrations are no longer just exclusively linked to forms. So data can be sent once the participation is over and include a wide range of information. If you have an existing push integration with us, that will require an update of your integration to make it work in this way, if you'd like. So if you're interested with that, I would suggest that you contact your Qualifio CSM. And then a third thing that I wanted to talk to you about is very exciting, is that Qualifio now provides, like a wide range of campaign types, but honestly, we believe there are just as many game formats as there are audience groups. And every organization, they have their own favorites due to, different gameplays, business needs, requirements. And that's why now you can integrate custom games into Qualifio campaigns. So if you found the ideal game concept and it is not yet available in Qualifio, or offer to integrate selected third-party games might interest you. It's really ideal if you or your company, you have a big event coming up on your calendar, for example, and you would like to work with a specialized studio or your marketing agency to create a unique branded game mechanic. Plus, you can integrate third-party games into your usual secure data collection workflows. So if you're using Qualifio for your data collection activities, you might want to keep it, as your central hub for all interactive content and all game activities too. And if you add a custom game in Qualifio, it's probably most comfortable, to launch this game in the Qualifio platform because it's already connected to all of your external services. So if you have a custom game that you would like to see connected to your Qualifio account, please don't hesitate and contact us. So in this idea, there are basically two options. You can add your own external game to a Qualifio campaign. So this is an example from a British customer. As you can see, they have created a ski run for Christmas. And the idea was that, Santa would collect all of the gifts that you see here. So this is not a Qualifio game mechanic, but they were able to still add it into a Qualifio campaign. And then you have a second option, which is made of our premium game catalog, if you'd like. So we have three. There is the runner game, the catcher game, the repeated. So the runner game is I'll put this example, but it's basically like this character who is running and must avoid objects and catch some other good objects. So that's what it looks like. You have the catcher game, which probably most of you know. This is an example from Batida de Coco. And we have a new one that has been added to this premium offer. It's really centered on the participants' ability to just memorize and then repeat a sequence of images and optionally sounds too. And the sequence keeps getting more complex as the game moves forward. And so it becomes more challenging if you keep playing. There are 4 different ways to play this game. It's really fun. So again, if you're interested, we should chat. And yeah, so coming to maybe the integrations part. Qualifio now provides a standard integration for most SSO services that are using OAuth 2 as a protocol. This integration basically allows you to connect your Qualifio campaigns to your identity provider database. So to use a practical example here, suppose that Olivier, he wants to take part in one of your campaigns. If you enable SSO, you're allowing Qualifio to access his online account that he might already have with you, so that Olivier can participate with the credentials that he already knows. So here, the OAuth protocol is used kind of behind the scenes, just to enable Qualifio to access the necessary data from your SSO. So here what changes is that this was already possible, but it was really in a custom way. Now we can just really integrate it in 5 minutes in the Qualifio platform. The only thing is that a specific mapping still needs to be implemented. That is in order to, how I would say that, is to match Qualifio fields to the fields of your SSO service. So this will enable things like pre-filling the campaign forms and providing participants with the actual SSO experience. You cannot manage that mapping yourself for now, but you can enable all developers to configure it based on your needs. And so it makes it way faster to actually connect Qualifio with your SSO service. Another new friend that we have is the coupon provider Clearon. So Qualifio now allows you to instantly connect with Clearon to increase sales or traffic by essentially delivering coupons using emails, SMS notifications, or redeem links. So the core idea here is that you generate discount coupons in your Clearon account, if you have one, and then you can distribute those coupons to people taking part in your Qualifio campaign. And in quizzes and personality tests, you can use exit screens to offer targeted incentives according to scores or personality test profiles. So you can really get creative with that. Then, as I said, we also have a few maybe smaller but also powerful improvements and polishes that we made. So the first one is domain verification in Facebook. So essentially for Facebook, it means that it's the process where you are going to prove to Facebook that a website, or more specifically a domain, is actually yours. So with domain verification, you essentially just a bit of code gets added to your Qualifio website, and Facebook is going to search for that bit of code just to verify it on their side. So if Facebook's policy now asks you to verify your domain inside the business manager of Facebook, Qualifio can help you do that. The second one is a feature that we called question charts, and it gives you the big picture of your response data in a flash. So it really helps you understand participants' responses and can guide your decision-making process. To enable question charts, you need to actually activate it as an advanced features from the settings of your account, and only account admins can do that. But once it's enabled, essentially what this feature does is that it adds a new option in the statistics at the campaign level. And you should probably note that if you have campaigns with over 100,000 participations, then those charts are going to be shown at all times. You do not need to activate the advanced feature for that. So it's really, the idea here is really to provide charts for quick statistics on how participants answered the questions of your campaigns. Then you can also filter your data using a new field in the global stats that allows you to filter by country. So an extra thing that you can do. And finally, you can redirect users by device with the new smart URL. So a smart URL is like a special link that is generated for your campaign by Qualifio. And the main benefits lies in the dynamic link redirects. So essentially the smart URLs is what we call a device-aware link, meaning that it can detect what kind of device the visitor has when they click on the link to access your campaign, and it will direct them to the appropriate version of the campaign based on that to really make their user experience optimal. Qualifio also supports connecting custom domains to tailor those smart links to your brand. This is totally optional, but definitely something to consider. So now what I would like to do is to ask your opinion on all of those things. And I would like to know from all of those features that I just explained, which ones are most valuable to you? So I have launched a second very short poll here in the player, and I invite all of you to vote. You can actually select more than one. So just you can mark your interest for, yeah.
Maybe while you're answering this poll, we can answer the question from Michael about OAuth. So he was wondering with OAuth if it's for all campaign or if we can still decide on which campaign this is going to be enabled and which is not going to be enabled. Of course, this is totally customizable, Michael. So you can decide to use it only for campaign X, Y, and Z, and you can even kind of automate it already with the master form. So in the master form, you can decide that if you're using a specific master form, which would be your SSO master form, then you will always use the single sign-on or not. That's really up to you. But that's really on a case-by-case basis, depending on what you have.
Yes. So this is kind of what I was showing with this specific screenshot. So it's still to be decided at campaign level, but you can also alternatively link a SSO integration to a master form and also lock that setting. So if you lock the setting, it means that when people on your account create a new campaign and they select that form, the SSO is automatically activated and they cannot remove it. So this is also to prevent, you know, like those oblivion or mistakes, like, oh, I did not think of connecting the SSO or stuff like that.
And we have a second question from Pablo, who's asking with the external games, can we connect a game from an external provider, for example, a football bracket with predictions with the new integration? That is a very good question and a very good example. I like it. Currently, the data that we are going to be requesting from the external provider are only the score and the time spent here. So well, it's a bit difficult with this, as there is no persistency in the participation. You cannot update your things. Now, if it's really solely for engagement and that there is no real score afterwards, that would be possible. But currently, we need to have the score directly after the participation, so that would be a bit more difficult, I would suppose, here.
Okay. Okay. So coming back to our polls, I see that a lot of you have answered. I'm going to well, share the results with you so that it's completely transparent. And we see, yeah, a lot of people have actually expressed interest in this third-party games integration. That's very cool to see. And then, yeah, the webhook and the push rules, and got a lot of interest for the new integrations too. That's pretty cool. Okay, so Olivier, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Tab. So now I will explain a bit. I will try not to go too much into detail. I will not take too much of this time because I don't want to be boring. But sometimes it's good to highlight some improvements that were done under the hood that are not actually super visible, but are actually super relevant and super useful for your usage of the platform. So we've spent quite some time to working on the foundation of Qualifio, because it's very good to use the webhook, the push rules, the games and the SSO, but we wanted to make sure that the experience on the platform on the front end remained really a very good one for the end user. So really, I've been working on three main axes: performance, scalability, and resilience. So let's give a quick insight on what we did, not into details, but in what it means for you, for each axis. So for the resilience, basically, we wanted to make sure that you have less chances of having the campaign unavailable due to very big peaks of traffic all at once. So we've really worked on that part, on the load balancer. That's a very technical and big name, but what it means for you really is that you have less chances now to have a campaign unavailable due to peaks of campaign in your campaign or in and campaign that is running side by side, I would say. On the scalability, so this would be more vertical. Here we're really talking about horizontality. So we've decreased the memory usage that is being used in the campaign by 40%. So that's quite a big number. here, and we've also changed a bit the way that we are displaying the images and the designs of the campaign. Concretely, what that means for you is that we can absorb more campaign, even if it's not really flat. We can really absorb more, so it's more here horizontal. So again, more traffic on the campaign will not hurt any of the experience that you are having with the campaigns. And then the last one on performance. So we have worked very hard to improve the participant experience on the front ends, on the games, on the forms. And our measurements show that the response times on the most used campaigns, because we have some technicity, but on the most used campaigns are between 30 and 50% faster today than when we started this the end of last year. So, well, you can see, of course, this means really faster initialization of the campaign and transition throughout the campaign to really have a super smooth and efficient experience when playing Qualifio games. So I hope I was not too boring and too into details, so that now we can go to what's actually next, what's coming for you in the future of Qualifio, in the quite short-term future to start with. So we're talking here about custom participation limitation, basically. So again, I don't want to be too technical, but you have a new possibility you will in the coming weeks have a new possibility to limit participation based on one of the criteria that you have decided on your hand. So we have received some requests from several customers who were telling us, okay, when somebody is buying for 50 euros in my e-commerce, I would like to give them 5 chances to play a specific campaign, but they need really to buy 50 euro. When they buy 30, I will only give them 3 chances. So all these participation they are now being made possible via this mechanism, where you do the calculation, the limitation on your end. You just send us some parameters, and well, then the rest is configured magically, and it's working very smoothly, that you can just give 5, 1, 2, 10 participation to one specific user. So for instance, purchase to enter, or you have some paid subscribers on your subscription online, and you only want to grant them access to a specific campaign. Well, that is also possible, so that this campaign cannot be shared elsewhere, because if you do not have this specific access, you will not be able to play the campaign. Now, we're also working very, very, very hard on a new way to export the data. So it's very good that we have these automated flows of data and the webhook that Tabata has been explaining, but sometimes it's just not enough. You also need to get the data afterwards, after the end of the campaign, for instance. And so we've reworked that flow. Of course, it was already possible, but we've reworked and improved that to be more organized, more flexible. So meaning that you will be able to design some criteria. I want to export all the data from campaign XYZ, from website XYZ, only the campaign that are in French and in Dutch, etc. And I want to export them, well, right now on my laptop. So I get a download link and I will be able to download them, or I want to export them directly on my SFTP, on my Amazon S3, all those servers online to then use the data via an automated way on yours. Then also what will be possible is to automate these flows in the future, meaning that I want every Monday to export all the data from active campaigns to an SFTP, for instance, so that you really automate those data flows, and so that we can really serve you the best way, either via the direct webhook integration, which at every participation is giving you all the participation data, or afterwards via an export, an automated export or not automated export. Now, we've also like to take funny pictures here, and we had a feature that is called the photo editor, but we've improved it quite significantly, mainly on mobile, because it was, of course, one of the features that was mainly used on mobile. That's quite logical. And so you will be able to really better use that in a much more user-friendly way to organize contests for your participant, whether you are selling food for dogs and you ask video photos of the dogs of your participant. You can put glasses and hats and whatever, and your logo, of course, with a frame that you can add. So that's a nice photo contest with some branded content that you can add there. Then a little further down the road, so we're looking not in the very next weeks, but a bit further down the road, we really want to improve the statistics and the reporting analytics module. The first thing is by including all the opt-ins that you have in the statistics, so in the global statistics, but also at the campaign level, meaning that you will be able to categorize all the different consents opt-ins that you have created, because today you are using the opt-ins section to create newsletter, for email, for SMS, for terms and conditions, for privacy. So all this organized for a full, well, different aspect, different use cases, and aggregating all those data didn't really make sense. So first you will be able to really categorize them to better analyze that you have gathered in the last X months, X thousands of newsletter that are really actually usable and actual newsletter, not just that people needed or were obliged to tick a box to accept the terms and condition. And you will be able to calculate, well, what is your opt-in rate on those campaigns, etc. Also, we will rework the way that we are calculating the page views, the funnels here, to make it more, not more sustainable, but more precise on the calculation here that we will display.
Yeah, and that's very, very useful analytics, actually, to identify also where participants tend to drop out in your campaign, and therefore increasing your conversion rate. Now, you can participate in helping us launch the best possible opt-in statistics in page view analysis. And we would like to know, among all of you who have joined us today, if there are people who would be interested in scheduling a 15-minute call with us in the product team. I'm just going to launch an extra poll for that. So if you want to help us build this feature and share a bit how we would help you, don't hesitate. We would be
But
glad.
feel free to say no thanks if you don't really want to. We won't be mad at you at all. Don't worry. And maybe in the meantime, we have also a question from Kaz. Is it possible to track the acquisition source for campaign, where the users come from before the campaign's landing page, unlike ads, social media, emails, etc.? Well, I would say yes, and I would mainly be using UTMs. Tabata, you correct me if you have another idea, but I would use UTM. Those are being tracked in Qualifio, but also if you are using another tool such as Google Analytics or whatever, then you will retrieve those also in your tracking tool. But really, UTMs are the most consistent way to track users.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like the standard way to do it. So as Olivier was saying, this is an information that we can read in Qualifio, but that's also what Google is using. And just because I'm not sure how familiar you might be with this, the idea is only that you would add extra information in the URL of your campaign when you share it. So for example, let's say that you want to promote your campaign through an emailing or on Facebook, then essentially you're going to add, manually, this information in the URL. So basically saying, okay, if people click on this link, I want you to tell me they came via Facebook or via my HubSpot emailing or MailChimp emailing or whatever it is that you're using. And in Qualifio, you will be able to track these values and this information that you put in the URL. So that's kind of how it works.
And I would suggest that you go on the blog and you just type UTM, and you will find very relevant information, brilliantly written by Tabata.
Yeah, we definitely have resources about that on our support site. Okay, cool. So next topic.
Yes, so basically we're close to the end now. Maybe just because they are part of the support team, we wanted to highlight that we know that a lot of you have been a lot in contact with Laurent for the last years that he was with us. He's decided to go on to another challenge, and we've decided to take 2 more people, very talented, to join us to the support team. So you will be very much in contact with them at the support. So we wanted to put faces on names here. Please be kind to Noemi and Sydney. We are still helping them a lot at the support, and they will be helping you a lot already and in the coming weeks, months, and years on the support. And we just wanted to highlight their arrival in the product team.
Yes, thank you. So now we will go ahead and take some time for questions. But first, I have like a last question for you. Like I said, few polls coming up here. So here is the last one. The idea is to know what's the one feature among all of the upcoming changes that we have shared today that you're like the most excited to see coming to Qualifio. So that poll is open. Okay, first answers in. I see a lot of interest for the new data export management. I'll leave you a bit more time to answer because I see that answers are coming in. And yeah, so yeah, just a reminder, please be sure to type your questions into the Q&A box in your control panel. You can ask us anything. Yeah, so that's your time. And okay, like 5 more seconds for the poll because I see there are still people who are answering now.
Well, thank you a lot already for all the participation rate. That's really exciting to see so many people participating. That's really.
Hey, sharing the results now. I see, yeah, almost 40% of people have actually high interest in the custom participation limitation. And that's actually, like, I think it's super exciting because it could be that you're going to allow people to enter only if they have spent like 50 euros on your shop, but it could also be, okay, I want people to be granted 1 participation or 2 participations for every 20 euro purchase that they make. So if they spend like 40 euros, then they will get 2 participations, 60 euros, 3 participations, and so on. So really there are a lot of possibilities there. Cool.
And maybe just also to comment on that, that's also very customizable from one campaign to another. It's really, you can decide to use that just for campaign XYZ and not all the other ones.
Of course, yes. Okay, so it looks like we don't have any more questions. Okay, so if there is nothing else that we want to cover, I think we're good for now. Okay, great. So
thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you, Tabata.
Yeah, thank you. And we will see you next time.
Yes, so we will send over, we'll make the recording available.
Yes, definitely. And also don't forget to fill out the survey, because when you leave this webinar and we end it, you're going to get like a very short survey just to get a sense on how you appreciated the webinar, and it will help us make the next ones better. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.